Welcome to the Heel Turn Hotline, where the villains want to show tonight. Schemes, betrayals, chaos on the line. Heel Turn Hotline.
Welcome to another episode of Heel Turn Hotline, where we talk everything WWE, going from the weekly Raws and SmackDowns and all the PLEs of WWE. And I am here with my best friend and WWE fanatic, Finn Penberthy. How are we doing tonight on this late episode?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. And now, Finn, I have a big question for you. What do you want to talk about?
In this episode, we'll be talking about the WWE's relationship with Saudi Arabia and mention the new deal to have a Wrestlemania for the first time out of the United States.
WrestleMania has always been an American event. You know, it was under Vince. Triple H is changing it up, but it's always been an American event. So yeah, this is the first time. You know, Saudi.
Well, for better or worse, Triple H seems to want to grow the company to a worldwide kind of thing.
Which I think that is a good idea.
Everywhere.
I think that's a good idea.
I don't think it's a bad idea either.
I think each country should have their own WWE, but I think where the problems lay for that is every country would have a different story, though.
Yeah.
And you know, I feel like kind of what makes WWE so good at the moment is the storytelling is consistent for the most part. There's a lot of problems there, but it's a consistent narrative from episode to episode, and I think it's something that everybody can get behind. You know, it doesn't matter what country you're in; that story makes sense.
I mean, we saw a little bit of what Triple H is probably going for when he was in charge of NXT. We had NXT and we also had NXT UK, which was like a separate brand for a few years. And as far as I know it had its own titles, but as far as I know, it had its own stories. Like storylines had its own roster, and it was mostly European wrestlers, and all the events I think were in Europe.
So the way that we're going to structure this episode is we're going to go from the negatives, start by talking about the negatives, and go into the positives of WrestleMania 43 being held in Saudi. Just to state the obvious here, I have nothing against Saudi. Saudi seems like a great country, lovely people there. So everything that we are going to be talking about has nothing to do with the country itself. It more has to do with the WWE side of things. So both Finn and I have no grudge against the country. We do have some issues, but we're not going to specify what those are.
We're saying this more from a wrestling perspective than a political perspective.
Yeah, so shall I get us kicked off with the first point?
Yeah.
So first point I have written down here for the negatives is overbooked matches and too much interference.
Okay.
I think that seems to be a big problem with Saudi's events. For WWE, they've held the greatest Royal Rumble. They did, as we talked about in episode 1, Night of Champions.
That was the first Saudi event, was the greatest Royal Rumble.
Yes, and they've, and I think they're doing next year's Royal Rumble, I believe.
Yes. This will be the first actual, because the greatest Royal Rumble is essentially a fake Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble next year will be the first actual, real Royal Rumble outside the United States.
So where my first issue comes into play, and I want to reference a match here. I recently watched Night of Champions, actually, and the match that I'm talking about is John Cena versus CM Punk, the main event of it. That match, maybe for the first 5-10 minutes, is not too bad. CM Punk, puts up a good match, but by the middle point, Penta comes out and the story completely changes the narrative, and it takes away from, I don't know what the story was of Cena and Punk and how that feud started going into Champions, but by the middle point, that becomes secondary to an event that should be front and center, because then you have this feud going on with Penta. The match is forgettable to me, so I can't remember the other names right now. but yeah, there's at least 5 wrestlers that come into it by the end. And
I think it's like the Vision interferes and then Penta interferes, Sami Zayn interferes.
Sami Zayn was one of them, yes. Yeah, it took away from the narrative and any enjoyment that I was kind of getting from the Cena and Punk. Not to say that it's a good match by any means. There's way too much to follow. And yeah, it loses all its steam. Well, it blows its load way too fast.
From what I've seen of the match, I haven't seen the full match, but I've seen like the finish and a few clips and what have you. From what I've seen of the match, it seems like the intention of the match was to further the Punk Rollins storyline, which was going on at the time.
And that continued into SummerSlam.
Yes, it did. Yeah, he was Mr. Money in the Bank in like at the time of the Night of Champions match, and he tried to interfere. Ended up costing Punk the match.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
That I'm not against. But it's everything that really comes after Rollins. Like, I watched the match kind of knowing that Seth Rollins appears. I did not know Penta appeared in it, though. I was not aware of that. Like, Rollins, I think, was like the big name kind of going into that one. Yeah, that's my problem, is overbooked match, and it takes away from the narrative, and it becomes very overly convoluted instead of consistent. So what do you think?
I mean, I usually like overbooked matches. I usually like a bit of interference, especially in a main event match. Like, obviously, there's a fine line where it gets too much, but I don't know. I don't want to give my rating on the match because I haven't seen it, but it looks fine. It looks okay. It doesn't look terrible, but it doesn't look, amazing either. It looks fine.
Bringing us on to point 2 this is a good one. Bringing wrestlers out of retirement, like the Brothers of Destruction match.
Yes, Brothers of Destruction versus DX. That match is infamous.
Yes.
Probably out of all the Saudi shows, Crown Jewel 20, I want to say 18 is the most infamous one. That's partially because, we won't go into details here, but there was a controversial event that happened before the show. And, that's probably all I'll say. But yes, with that match, they brought Shawn Michaels out of a 10-year retirement.
Undertaker
was like, well, he hadn't retired then, but he was semi-retired, Kane, all that stuff. I think Triple H was like the most in shape and least ring rusted guy in the match, and he tore his chest very early into the match. So, you had the guy who was meant to carry the match be injured. So I think they just had to scramble around with it.
My problem with that, luckily Saudi isn't as bad with that nowadays, but back when starting, that's all they were doing, is bringing people out of retirement. And I think my problem with that going forward, because I know WWE has 4 to 5 years remaining on this Saudi deal. My problem with that moving forward is it takes light away from the up-and-comers like Jey Uso, LA Knight, Cody Rhodes. It takes a lot away from them and puts people back in the past. I'm not saying that the past isn't important, but I feel like, the past is the past. WWE has to move more with the times. Well, not so much WWE, but Saudi. They have to move more with the times and kind of I think Saudi could do a great event. I do think they do have a great event in them, but I think they want to. I think they're very reliant on what made WWE so great under Vince, and what made it so great with the Attitude Era was all of these big names, Hogan, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, all of that. And so bringing them into present day, they think is the right move, which, as far as ticket sales and getting people in the seats, it's a great strategy. It's a great strategy, but it takes away from what the main focus should be, which is the main roster superstars.
No, I agree, and also in my opinion, it feels very inorganic if they just throw you know, they have like a dream match, they just throw it together with like little to no build, you know, instead of like, you know, letting it kind of build like normally. I feel like that's a bit disappointing. Yeah, like a good example is Undertaker versus Goldberg. That match was just kind of put together just because, and that match could have been like, you know, a huge like match, but it was just kind of thrown together.
You gave me a great description of that match this afternoon.
Which match?
Undertaker versus Goldberg.
Oh yes, that match.
You gave me a very good description of like beat for beat what happened. Can you tell our audience what happened during that match?
Dragging people out of retirement, that is honestly, it's probably one of the worst pay-per-view main events WWE's ever done, at least in the lower tier. It has the oldest combined age of any singles main event in wrestling history, in WWE history. Both guys were in their mid to late 50s, I think. Goldberg was like 55, I want to say at the time, and Undertaker was like 57. So before the match, somehow Goldberg was concussed or had a head injury, or this is the story goes, he was concussed or had a head injury or something.
Didn't he say there was some backstage drama to that match as well?
Allegedly, but that was like purported to take place after.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, Goldberg was going into the match like hurt, and then he tried to do a spear. Like the first few minutes are pretty decent, but he tries to do a spear, take a dodgers, and he gets his head into the ring post, and he concusses himself again, and he's bleeding, and then he tries to lift Taker up for the jackhammer, he drops Taker on his head, concusses him, and a concussed Taker drops Goldberg on his head again, and then it ends up like with both guys being concussed, and you know, a lot of blotches ensue. Yeah, the rumor is the two of them like had a real fight backstage because they blamed each other for the shape of the match.
Has that ever been confirmed?
Not that I know of.
So that's point 2, and then point 3 is matches are too short or have horrible pacing. It's like them being too short, like there's only a few matches I can think of with that, but the pacing is more the problem I have with Saudi. You know, here's the structure. I haven't seen every single Saudi event, so some might be different, but from the ones I've seen, it's a lot of tap outs. No, sorry, it's not tap out, kick out. It's a lot of kick outs. It's a lot of, you know, fake suspense and fake tension just for there to be a kick out. Like, you know, John Cena, you know, Night of Champions is fresh in my mind. So, you know, John Cena versus CM Punk and the opening event, Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. Those matches are the exact same. If you put them together, it's kick out after kick out. Like whenever they have them pinned, it's always on 2. It's never on 1, which I found so interesting. Is like it's always on 2, just get that reaction from the audience.
Sometimes the 2.5.
Yeah, 2.5, and just that is what's annoying. Like
That's an unfortunate.
I don't
trend.
like kickouts. I don't like kickouts.
But that's an unfortunate trend in modern wrestling.
It's getting more popular, I would say, yes, but I wouldn't say it wasn't as ridiculous as what Saudi made it. Like, you know, SmackDown has a habit of doing that with some matches. Raw has a habit of doing it with some matches.
From what I've seen,
POEs have some issues of doing it as well, especially POEs.
Yeah. From what I've seen of AEW, like they take it to the next level. Like that's why one of the reasons I haven't been able to fully really get into it is from what I've seen of AEW, they kind of do the finisher spamming, but like on crack. They do like heaps of Canadian destroyers or heaps of like brutal looking weapon shots and finishes onto weapons and stuff like that, and then they kick out. At least from the AEW matches I've seen, they tend to like go for a very long time and have a lot of kickouts in them. There was one match in AEW which was particularly bad, and a lot of people were rating this match, Daniel Bryan versus Swerve Strickland.
Interesting.
In that match was bad. Like,
I haven't seen that match, but Daniel Bryan seems like a pretty good guess for the winner.
he does, yes.
Yeah, good.
But Swerve hits his finisher on Bryan so many times and he kicks out. And it wasn't just Bryan at fault. Like, there's a spot where Bryan hits his finisher and then Swerve completely no-sells it. He doesn't even, like, go down for it. And then he just comes back in the end and doesn't, like, sell anything.
I haven't seen too much AEW. I haven't seen anything. Like, I've seen a few clips of Edge, but I haven't really. I mean, AEW looks a lot more violent and aggressive.
It's so much more violent than WWE.
There's more to a match than finishes, and
Yeah, I think so.
yeah, like I don't know, it's something that bothers me a little bit. I mean, I can probably forgive that point more than some of these other points that I am going to discuss here. And then, going on from that is storytelling is secondary, spectacle first.
Yeah.
Which, Saudi... Okay, there's two approaches I can take to this one. One being spectacle, I think, is important, especially at a PLE.
Spectacle is one of the biggest things in wrestling.
Yes, especially at a PLE. I think spectacle should be one of the key things.
Yeah.
Not the main thing you should focus on, but one of them.
Yeah, I will give... I think it's the sports commission or whoever does the Saudi Arabian pay-per-views, like, they do the spectacle part quite well.
They
I
do.
will give them that.
They do. Like, every event opens with, like, fireworks and flame work, and it is amazing
And
to look at.
the arenas that they go in, well, they're always packed, and also the arenas are, like, very big, very nice-looking arenas.
One complaint I have heard of Saudi, this is, just like a common criticism I've heard online, is, like, the audience or the crowds at Saudi shows are not loud enough. That's a common complaint I've heard. Watch Night of Champions. Like, right from the opening match through to the end, the crowd is really into it.
Yeah.
Like, they're cheering, they're chanting, like, you hear them. Night of Champions does a great job with atmosphere. There's the crowd's reaction feels massive because the crowd's into it. I feel like that's one of the things on how to pull off a successful PLE is the way that the crowd reacts, how loud they are. I feel like for a PLE, I feel like part of the excitement should become from measuring of the crowd's interaction.
Yeah, the crowd interaction matters, like, massively in wrestling. But maybe like Night Champions was louder because they've got more accustomed to it. But the older Saudi shows, there definitely is a lot of distraction.
I'm
Greatest Royal Rumble, like,
I'm
the
not
fans
giving-
are pretty much dead throughout.
I'm not
same
giving
with Crown
credit.
Jewels,
I'm not giving
28.
credit to the older ones. The older
Yeah.
ones, the crowds are quite dead for those. There's not a lot of sounds, but Night of Champions was the first one to me where I was actually a little bit surprised.
Yes, hopefully, if they're going to keep doing these shows, then hopefully in terms of fan interaction, then Night of Champions step in the right direction.
Yes. Going back to the main point, so yeah, Saudi I think does spectacle. I mean, I hate to say this, but I think they actually do spectacle kind of better than what American PLEs do. Like, they know how to kind of start off a show. They know how to kind of, now, like I said, they're better at it now. They're better at, kind of getting crowds into it, like really creating that massive illusion, as in, like, this is something you have to be excited for. I think they've definitely got better at that over the years. But then the negative side of that is the storytelling. Saudi has no idea how to write. I'm just going to come out and say it. They have no idea how to write.
Yeah, there's like one Saudi match I can think of that had good storytelling.
Yeah, what was that match?
I didn't even know this was a Saudi show until I did some research today, but it was, I wouldn't say good...
Okay, storytelling.
Better than average. Than the average, I guess.
Sure.
It was Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa challenging for the tag belts against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn.
Interesting.
Yeah, that match had that match had a pretty surprising ending. That match was, I mean, I haven't seen the full match, but the ending was pretty surprising. It didn't lead to anything, but the ending was surprising. But that was part of like the longer storyline, because that was part of the whole Bloodline storyline.
Yeah, I'm going to continue to refer to, because I do generally think it is one of the worst things WWE has ever done, is the Brothers of Destruction match.
That match is really bad.
That match had a little bit of build up before it, and that match could have been great. Like, on paper, that's an awesome match. On paper, that's an incredible match. But then the execution of it is
if they did that match like 10 years earlier, it would have been a masterpiece.
Oh, it would have. A match like that, it's the story.
I mean, two of the biggest tag teams in wrestling history.
Oh yeah. Well, and I would say
who had never faced each other to that point.
No, I would say it's some of the biggest names in WWE history.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. I would say, like, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Kane, they're like four of the biggest names in wrestling history.
Undertaker, I think his entrance in that match is actually pretty good.
Yeah, if it's if it's anything like Undertaker's usual entrances, I imagine it would be quite good.
Oh yeah, like there's the whole kind of lights are off and all you hear is the whole bell dinging, and then there's like another 30 seconds of silence, and then the music starts to pick up, lights start to reveal themselves. Undertaker comes out. Like, it's a great entrance, and
it is. Undertaker's theme is great, actually.
Oh, it is. It's amazing. Like, I think all of their entrances are still quite good. That match fell for me not only because of execution, because there was not enough build up to it.
No, like there was a match at a previous. It wasn't a Saudi show. They had a previous show. I think it was Super Showdown.
Right.
Where Triple H beat Undertaker, and from memory, that match was just like finisher spam galore.
Right.
But Triple H beats Undertaker, and then post-match, like, Brothers of Destruction hugged them, but it was revealed that was a setup, and then Brothers of Destruction beat up DX, and then, the storyline was like, Michaels was like, oh, this is, that was so disrespectful, I'm going to step out of retirement, and then that was pretty much all the build. So, not much build, honestly, for a match of that caliber.
No, a match like
and
that.
And the Undertaker Triple H build had literally no build at all. Like the previous match had.
Right.
There was no build for that match at all.
And that's kind of what I meant, is it's a missed opportunity. Like, you have the biggest stars with not a very good story and not a very good script.
The crazy thing is that is not even the worst match of that night.
Okay.
I think the worst match of Crown Jewel 2018
You've caught me off guard here a bit. What's that?
By far was Brock Lesnar versus Braun Strowman.
That match it's just F5. He does 5 F5s in that match. There's like no hand-to-hand combat. There's nothing. It's just F5.
Yeah, I think maybe Strowman hit Lesnar with like one big boot, but that was his only offense the entire match. The match was awful.
That's a pretty bad match, but
honestly, I'd say probably one of the worst matches of Lesnar's career. And despite having a lot of good matches, Lesnar has also had a lot of bad matches.
Yes. Worst match of his career, strong title to have. I
don't know if it is the worst, but it's one of the worst.
Right. The worst Lesnar match to me is Kofi Kingston.
That one's really bad as well. Yeah.
I never thought I would see a 6-second match in my life.
Yeah.
But then, Brock Lesnar proved me wrong. And, the worst thing is he was champion.
Yes, Kofi Kingston was the champion. He had been champion for months as well, and he had picked up victories against like Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. Lesnar just comes in and makes the whole thing kind of meaningless by beating him so easily.
Yeah, it was like strong introduction to the match with Paul Heyman introducing Lesnar, and then as soon as that bell rings, it's just like sets up the F5, executes it, ends match. Kingston barely has a second to even defend himself. He doesn't bother to kick out of it, and especially being a champion, kind of knowing some of the previous matches he's done, it's I feel like there should have been more respect there.
No, I agree.
Kofi
Kingston's at least had Kingston put up a fight.
Oh yeah, the other interesting thing is Kofi Kingston's actually really good in the ring.
He is, yeah.
He's really, really good. He has an excellent moveset.
He does, definitely.
And yeah, so I think that's one of the worst matches for me. I would put up there. I know there was one of these two matches I really enjoyed, and then there was another one that I did not. But the John Cena versus Brock Lesnar, I really enjoyed was it? It wasn't Hell in a Cell. The one where Cena won.
Oh, the Extreme Rules match. That match is really good.
Extreme Rules. Like I really like that one.
So
and
did I.
then there's a second one that they do. I'm just trying to think whether it was Palooza or SummerSlam. I think it was SummerSlam. I think I really dug SummerSlam 2014. I really like that one. The Palooza one's pure shit.
The Palooza match is really bad, yeah.
Cena should have won that. So yeah, no, he has had some really bad matches.
Yes, and I think that match against Strowman at that Saudi show was one of his worst matches. That match was terrible.
I mean, I like the F5 as a move.
So do I, but
I really do.
be
But
the only thing he does.
yeah, no, that's what I was about to say. Like I feel like as a wrestler, you have this broad spectrum of a moveset that that you can do, and you choose to only do the F5. Like the F5 is a very famous move. I understand why it's the main move he sticks to. But then saying that he has other finishes that he just doesn't even do now.
Yeah, he used to do the Kimura lock and the Brock lock. He does not do them anymore.
No, it's only F5.
F5.
Like I feel like a match that's only finishes and like no actual like hand-to-hand combat. Yeah, like I think like even like I'm a Lesnar fan, and like when I watched the Strowman one, I was like, this is like Lesnar at his worst.
Yeah, that match was awful, and I remember I was keeping up with the product more actively at the time. Like Reigns had to vacate the belt because his leukemia came back. That was a very sad moment, and like the belt was vacant. All signs pointed at Strowman winning because Lesnar had just lost the belt. He had held it for a year. He did not need it again, and Strowman was getting a push. He was decently over, and he was the new guy. He all signs pointed at him winning, and then he just got destroyed. Oh, the one saving grace was
more respect.
Technically the loss wasn't clean because Baron Corbin attacked him before the match. That was the one thing, but that match was awful though. Oh, and there was another infamous match from that show as well.
Okay.
It was Shane McMahon versus Dolph Ziggler. That was a weird one.
Here comes the money.
Oh yeah, here comes the money.
But no, it was Shane McMahon and who else?
Dolph Ziggler.
Right.
Yes.
He recently returned. for
I saw that.
the farewell tour. How was that match?
Weird. They were doing a tournament called the Best in the World Tournament, and the whole thing was whoever wins the tournament gets called the best in the world and gets to hold a big cup. And it was weird. So very early into the match, Miz has a storyline leg injury and has to be taken out. Then out of nowhere, Shane McMahon, who hadn't wrestled in years, maybe not, yeah, probably a few years, comes out, takes over, destroys Ziggler, beats him with almost no resistance in 2 minutes, and then he ends up winning the tournament for himself.
The fact Shane McMahon won is incredible.
Yeah, and then that led to Shane McMahon going on this winning streak as well. He had a feud with the Miz. He won the titles with the Miz, and then they lost it when Miz got pinned, and it led to Shane getting 2 or 3 straight victories against Miz, and then it led to Shane getting victories against Roman Reigns.
No, the other problem thing about Saudi.
Yeah.
To fly over from Australia to the States is, it's still expensive, but it's fair pricing. It's, it's it's $1,300, $400 to go to America. But I've actually looked at this. But to actually go from Australia to Saudi, it is over $2,000 just for the flights alone.
Yeah, that's insane.
And then depending where you want to sit at a Saudi event, I'm not too sure on what Saudi prices are, but I would say you're probably looking at if you want to do the first 5 rows floor level. If you want to do that, you'd probably be looking at $1,000, maybe $2,000 dollars for that ticket. And like, you know, at least for like next year's Vegas for WrestleMania 42, like the cheapest ticket for that is like $563. But you know, yeah, you put all of that together, you know, including food, including all of that, like you're looking at more money than if you were to fly to the States.
Yeah, that's insane.
And like that's one of the problems is like I just don't know who would want to fly over to
I've heard under, you know, since there's been this TKO deal, ticket prices have gone up a lot since the TKO merger.
Yes, since TKO has come in, yes, like we went to Super Show in Melbourne, and I think like our tickets for that, it was like $304, which is on the cheaper side, but we were quite far up for that. But then like the other prices for that, and like that's an Australian, what's a house show? There we go.
Yeah.
Floor ones for that were like over $1,000 for that. And that was a house show.
Tickets for that was around the same time as Crown Jewel, and I think tickets for Crown Jewel were like $700 and up.
Yes, for the floor that was over 1,000. Because I remember I tried to get tickets to Crown Jewel.
Yeah, that's insane.
And yeah, it's over 1,000, and like under Vince, this is this I'm going to kind of combine 2 points here. Is like it's expensive to travel, but also ticket prices. Ticket prices is a big issue I have with WWE at the moment. Under Vince McMahon, this is there's not much credit I can give to Vince, but one of the things I did like about Vince was the fact that his ticket prices were reasonable. For a WrestleMania in the States, it was like $40-50 for a WrestleMania, and for just like a normal SmackDown Raw, it was 20 to 30.
Yeah.
And like that's great pricing, and like because he wanted to really lean into the family market, and this is an event for kids, it's an event for families to enjoy. He cared much more about that rather than the money being made from it, and I feel like that's an issue WWE has now. I mean, I would love to go to a PLE.
So would I, but it's too expensive at the moment.
Yeah, and as I was saying before, I haven't seen every Saudi event, but a problem I do have, especially going forward, this is going to be a big issue, is the limited amount of female wrestlers at Saudi events.
I mean, they were banned from the first few shows.
They were
outright banned from Royal Rumble, Crown Jewel, and maybe a few other ones. They're allowed in, but it's restricted. I think there's less women's matches than there normally would be, and their attire in the ring is very restricted.
Big part of WWE, especially now, is the female wrestlers.
Yeah.
I would say, on Raw at the moment, that the females are dominating Raw.
Mm-hmm.
They're absolutely dominating it, especially with Liv Morgan just returning, and she's gonna help the Judgment Day rise to the top to be the best female faction of WWE. Luckily now, female matches are still allowed at Saudi.
Yeah, I mean it's a step in the right direction to have them be allowed at the Saudi shows.
Yes.
I would rather that have them not be allowed at all.
No, I think going forward, I think you have to have females be a big part of your company.
Yeah.
At the moment, I would say the females are better than the males.
I would agree.
Purely from a story standpoint.
Yeah.
You have
in
Stephanie,
terms of characters and star power.
Yeah, you have Stephanie Vicure, who is absolutely destroying WWE at the moment. She's been terrific.
Mm-hmm.
You have Rhea Ripley, who's amazing. She's performed at a couple of Saudi events.
She has, yes.
Jade Cargill at the moment, she's champion.
Oh yes, she is. Yeah.
Have Tiffany
You have
Stratton,
Lola Vice. She's getting.
Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss.
Alexa Bliss.
I can go on with like
The
so
Kabuki
many
Warriors.
Kabuki Warriors.
Did you
yes.
say Io Sky?
I did not say Yo Sky.
Yeah.
And like you have like this great female, this great female side of WWE that is just like one of the best parts of it.
Yeah.
And I feel like going to Saudi, I feel like that's going to be restrictive. Like, I feel like, it's going to be much more focused on the male side of things. Like, Saudi could easily surprise me and make it 50-50 on both sides and have an even amount of men matches and have an even amount of female matches. But just kind of, looking at from where they started in... When did they start doing it? 2010. When did Saudi start doing events?
2018.
2018, right.
Yeah, that's when Grass Royal Run was. That was the first one.
But then, I think they've done it like even earlier than that. It's a juxtaposition type thing here, where the men aren't going to look good without the females, and the females are not going to look good without the men. Because I think they both jump off each other, and I think to me that's what makes a great card is you have a mix of all. If it's let's put this in a different kind of context here. If Saudi just had all men's matches, I think it would be boring.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be boring. I think that there has to be that even to actually make it work. Like I think the women are just as important as the men, and I think that's something kind of going because I think was it Night of Champions? I don't remember if they had one or two women's matches. I know there was that Night of Champions. There was a match with Rhea, but
Oh yeah, she faced Raquel Rodriguez.
I think there was another one on the card. I cannot remember, and there were like 4 men's matches. I want to see, especially now. That's the one thing I look forward to watching the weekly women's match. That's something that they
I don't really know.
They're on the right track. That's a good thing of it. That's a good takeaway from that.
I don't really know anything about the NXT men's roster, but the NXT women's roster, I've been keeping up with that for like the past year or so.
And how's that been going?
Well, I don't think... Is it as good as it was, like, I don't know, last year? Maybe a little bit. Yeah, maybe a little bit worse, but it's still, like, very good. You got some good talent. You got, I mean, she's kind of splitting her time between NXT and AAA, but you got Lola Vice. She's getting extremely over. You got, what's her name? I'm trying to remember who... I forgot her name, but the women's champion for NXT, she's really good. She never wins, but Jada Parker's really good as well. Sol Ruka is really talented, like her finish is really cool. Zaria's pretty cool as well. So in a lot of ways, like the women's division is a big draw for fans. So not having or limiting that for
JC Jane
shows, yes.
JC Jane.
Yes, that's her. Yeah, she's really good.
She's the current NXT Women's Champion.
Yeah, she's quite a good promo.
But they've got better at it, and I'm just happy at the moment that there's women's matches because that's not where Saudi starts. I'm glad
that's true. It's in the right direction.
It is, and we'll see how WrestleMania 43 is. We'll see how the Royal Rumble is, and we'll see what they do with that in January. For the Royal Rumble. And we are moving on to the positives of WrestleMania 43 in Saudi Arabia. And I know we've spoken a lot of negative in this episode, but it's time to reverse roles here and talk about some of the positives because despite all our negativity, there are some positives that I do want to give some credit to. So the first positive I'm going to kick off here is the idea of Saudi having a WrestleMania. I think is a great idea. Saudi Arabia has WWE fans as well. It's not only America. I can understand WrestleMania has been purely an American event, but like it doesn't mean that it has to be secluded to just that.
I mean, no, that is like, I guess for me the main positive is have a thing outside of the United States. To have a WrestleMania outside of the United States.
Like, and if anything, like it, there's a lot of positives to that. Like looking from like the government's perspective of like, you know, tourist attraction, it brings up the numbers on that, more people kind of traveling to your country.
It's part of I believe it's part of Saudi Arabian government have a thing called Saudi Vision or something where they want to bring in more tourism by 2050. So having a deal like that would help with that.
Right.
Because I think their main source of economy is from oil, and they want to diversify and get more into tourism. So something like that would bring in more tourists. I don't like to look at these things from a business perspective as such, because I'm not a businessman. Like, I'm more interested about what, you know, makes things better for the wrestlers and makes things better for the fans. But from a perspective of the business and doing what's best for business, then it will make them a lot of money. Like Triple H, The Rock, will get who else is like high up in the chain at the moment? Logan Paul, Shawn Michaels, they will get a lot of money from this deal. So yeah, like from a business perspective, I'm sure like it won't flop. Like I'm sure it will get more money, and then that will mean more money to WWE. Which if you're putting that in a positive spin, you can be like, oh, that's more money. They can pay the wrestlers more money. They can get to up their spectacle, to get better events, to plan for their shows. So there's that. That's a positive.
That will conclude episode 2 of Heel Turn Hotline podcast. Oh, I'm already drunk. No, you know, that's what Peter says in Family Guy. Peter.
Right, yeah.
Oh, I'm already drunk.
Yeah, sorry, I'm already. I am so wasted.
That will do it to wrap up episode 2. Something that we do want to do more on the podcast is we do want to review older matches, because there's a lot of great ones.
There is, yes.
There's a lot of great ones. Like, there's a lot of, like, you know, Hulk Hogan ones I want to talk about. And
Hulk
like,
Hogan's got some very good matches.
oh, he's got amazing ones.
Hulk Hogan's also quite a few bad matches, but
He has.
Untapped
Cena's
got great
earlier
matches,
matches are
yeah.
incredible.
I agree, yeah.
Cena's earlier matches are amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, like we do want to start doing that, and we will be talking about Saturday night's main event
Yes.
when that happens next Sunday.
We are considering doing a episode where we go over John Cena's career after the main event. Talk about Cena as a wrestler, his matches, his movies, his character work, etc.
Yes.
His stuff outside the ring.
Until next
Yes.
time, guys, you're fired. And we'll see you next week on Heel Turn Hotline Podcast.